belong. Creation beats with willing hearts. So come on, saints, let's play our part. Come one, come all, to life that's home. Come one, come all, to love that's full.
Welcome back to another lesson of Our Stories, God's Story. We are going to talk today about God's chosen family. I have a group of close friends who I consider to be more like family. Friends are people we know, who we like and occasionally hang out with. Friendships come and go because, like in any relationship, people change, expectations change, and we change. When times get hard, friends leave. But with family, there is a deeper commitment to stay in the relationship through those changes and hard times. There is even an expectation that you will help each other become better people. I want you and your covenant partner to take a moment to create a family's circle diagram. I'm going to put up a diagram with instructions on how to fill it out. Take a moment to pause on those instructions and make a circle diagram for yourself. We belong to a lot of different circles and communities. Family comes in a lot of different formations and can look different from person to person. But at its core, family are the people who have similar values and who will help you reach your goals. How many of your circles on your diagram would you call family? For me, only the smallest 3 circles of my diagram really feel like my family. That includes people like my parents and my siblings, but also my closest friends and my church community. I know the people in those circles will stick by me through thick and thin, and that I can trust them to help me grow into a better person. The people in those circles share a lot of the same goals and beliefs that I have. Having people who share similar goals and beliefs helps me feel supported, because I know if I ever have a problem, they will help me become the person I most want to be. Even if I don't want to follow their advice in the moment, they will be honest and remind me of the goals I have and the values I wish to live out. This part of the 5-part story talks about God choosing a family. When God chose a family, God wanted to gather a group of people who were committed to becoming better, to having a relationship with God, and to help God change the world. God's family would be made up of people who were committed to staying in relationship with each other and with God, even through the hard times, in order to bless the world and make it a better place. A place more like God intended it to be when God created the world. We saw in our last 2 lessons that God created the world with this beautiful plan of love and peace. But then humans brought sin into the world and wandered far from God's original plan. After the fall story, Genesis continues to tell a story about how far humans wandered from God. But then comes a guy named Abram, who we know better as Abraham. God chooses Abraham to start a family, God's family. God tells Abraham, "I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all the people on earth will be blessed through your family." Based on these words, God's family is to become a great nation, it will have a great name, and it will bring blessings to everyone on earth. The first two of those promises, to be a great nation and to have a great name, are kind of like the shiny, sparkly attention grabbers in an ad campaign. They help Abraham understand how awesome it is to be in God's family. In Abraham's time, the most important thing was to be part of a strong nation. That meant that you were safe. And what was even better was to be the leader of a strong nation. When you were the leader, it meant your name would be great, and that people would continue to say your name and talk about you even after you died. Think about the pyramids in Egypt. They were built by leaders of a strong nation who desperately wanted to be something great and to be remembered. So God says to Abraham, the way to be great and to be remembered is not by building an army or a pyramid. It's by following God's plan to be a blessing to others. Take a moment to discuss what it means to be a blessing to other people. Did you figure out what being a blessing means? I think of it as sharing God's love with others. Anything I do that is loving is being a blessing. Abraham and his family are chosen to be the family that will start that outward ripple of love and blessing, with the goal of blessing the whole world. They weren't chosen because they were perfect. They didn't apply for the job. They were chosen because God saw their potential and trusted that they would be good partners in this goal. This choosing of a family forms a covenant between God and God's family. A covenant is a fancy way to say partnership or promise or contract. It's a word the church and the Bible uses a lot, so it's important that we understand what a covenant is. I'm going to send you over to the Bible Project to watch their video on what covenant means and how it ties into God's story and eventually our stories. Welcome back. I love how that video lays out the covenant relationship that God continues to want with humanity and with us. The video highlights moments when God reminds humanity about the covenant. It may have looked like God made multiple covenants, but it's really all about that one covenant partnership that God has wanted all along. The covenant to bring blessings to everyone. These moments with Noah and Abraham, Israel, David, and spoiler alert, Jesus, are the moments God had to remind us about the covenant. Remember, we wander far from God. Sin drags us away from the covenant, and we forget to be a blessing and to show love. To help people remember what it means to be God's chosen covenant family, God gives them family rules. These rules include things like the 10 Commandments. The church usually calls these family rules the law. Law and commandment can sound scary and restrictive, but they are meant to be freeing, to help God's family focus on the best choices and how to become the people that they can be. Pull out your family circle diagram and take a moment to talk about the different rules each circle of people have to help them function in a healthy way. For example, in the largest circle, the government passes laws so we can live among strangers in a safe way. Compare that to the rules in the second circle, the ones you may have in your home. Pause the video and think about the laws and rules that we live with every day. Hopefully you got to see that rules and laws help us live safer, happier, and freer lives. That without them, the potential for hurting one another or for someone hurting us is higher. Not only that, but hopefully you saw that God's family rules help keep us focused on what is best for us and helps us interact with other people in a way that achieves the goal of being a blessing to others. Within families, there are not only rules, but responsibilities. In God's family, we are given responsibilities too, which we learn about through a call. The verses I read before about God talking to Abraham and blessing him and choosing him are from Genesis 12, verses 1 through 3. These verses are titled The Call of Abram. A call is the moment God gives a task to someone. And the Bible has many call stories about sending people out to do amazingly important things. Pause the video and read a few of those call stories now. I hope you found a story you could relate to. One of my favorites is Isaiah's call. He is a prophet who has a dream about strange six-winged angels, and he freaks out that he's about to die. He knows all the sins that he's committed in his life and cannot imagine a visit from an angel ending well for him. Then the angel taps his lips with a hot coal, and he's told his sins are forgiven. Then God wanders by and thinks out loud, I need someone to help me. And Isaiah is so grateful that he's forgiven, he leaps at the chance to help and yells, "Here I am, I'll do it." In Hebrew, Hineni is the word that means "here I am." I have that Hebrew word tattooed on my wrist to remind myself that all it takes to serve God is to be present and willing to act. One common thread throughout all these call stories is that the people God calls are not perfect. A lot of them aren't even qualified to do the job asked of them. But God is not concerned with our ability or lack of it. God calls people who are willing to join a family committed to keeping that ripple of blessing moving in the world. What do you think your call might be? How would you be a blessing in the world? Pause the video and discuss. With all the people we interact with in our family and our community, there are a lot of people we could pray for. And they all have a call just like us, and then there's God's wish for us to be a blessing, so there are endless possibilities of things that we could include in a prayer. When we pray for people, their call and God's continued blessings, we call that a prayer for the people. This kind of prayer is made up of petitions or asking statements. We may ask for healing or guidance for ourselves or someone else. We may ask for peace between nations or between two people. The whole point of prayer for the people is to tell God about the things we are concerned with and the things we hope for. Take a moment to write a prayer for the people in your world. Finally, if you were to randomly open the Old Testament, chances are you will open to a story about how God's family still found ways to forget or ignore the rules and responsibilities of being a blessing. Even though the family does not live perfectly, God does not give up on them. God sends priests, judges, kings, and prophets to remind the family of their rules and the call to be a blessing. But even with all the reminders, humans still mess up the plan. The people were still wandering far from God. The good news is that God never gives up on the covenant with God's family or God's promise to bless all the world. In the next lesson, you will see how God deals with sin once and for all. Thanks for watching.
Let all the earth come join the song and join the dance, for all belong.